Most cities have the same amenities and same basic services for people. The large cities are heavily overpopulated and prices are sky high. Mid-sized cities are now growing significantly as they are much more affordable with practically the same experience. With debt rising so incredibly high, where can you get the best bang for your buck? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Everybody has to live somewhere, and it's not necessarily going to a city that has the lowest housing prices. It's not going to work that way because you have to compare it to the median wage. You have to see where these two balance out, and some places you get a really good deal, other places you get ripped off. So it's not necessarily about the prices of things you see. You have to compare that to what people make, okay? And this is really what it's all about. Where does your dollar go the furthest? Where does your money make the most sense to be spent? Okay, because some people, they do not mind moving around if that's what they need to do in order to get the most for their money, obviously. Now let's look at this out of Rent Cafe. This is a website that I have used time and time again. They are a very good resource for what we're about to talk about today. How much space can you rent on a median income in the 100 largest US cities? So this is basically broken down. They have different charts that you can interact with. They've got a lot of descriptions that go along with this as well. Definitely check it out if you're interested. Link will be in the description. Apartment size on a median income in the 100 largest US cities. So we are seeing in the top left corner, that's where you get the most, and in the bottom right corner, that's where you get the least. And you can see Brooklyn, New York, 265 square feet. This is what you get on the median income. Now you have to look in your particular city or the city you're interested in to see what the median income is, but it's just a good general idea as we do this video today. All of these here, Manhattan, Boston, and Brooklyn, all the way in the bottom right corner there, you could see on the left hand side, and maybe some other cities in here, there is Scottsdale, Tulsa, we're looking at North Las Vegas, we are looking at places in Arizona, Texas, and so on. I'm interested actually for my friends out there in Scottsdale, Arizona. I have heard many good things about this city here, and while it may have changed, I think that there have been many good reports about it because the living standards are quite high in terms of what you get, but the prices aren't that high. And I mean, that's comparison to other major cities around the United States, okay? Because obviously a place like Manhattan, you got some problems going on there. But if you do live in Scottsdale, please let me know, because I want to see what the information I'm pulling up, is it accurate? So please let me know that. You can see others in here. I mean, if I put my mouse over Scottsdale, we are seeing 924 square feet. If I show you Gilbert, Arizona, that's 1174 square feet. A big difference from what you get in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Boston, okay? Huge difference. Houston, Texas, a little further in at 757 square feet. But regardless, I mean, you're not getting much. That's the whole point here, is that your money doesn't go far in many places, and that's why it really brings us into the next point. Only 14 cities offer a comfortable life while living within your means. Yes, that's right, only 14 cities out of the 100. It seems that finding a decent sized rental at a decent price might be impossible. So, is there any city where you can live comfortably and spend only 30% of your income on rent? Now, why 30%? I don't know where this number specifically came from, but there's sort of this agreed upon number that 30% is what you should spend, and if it goes above that, then you are basically using too much, you're going to go in debt, and so on. 30% happens to be the number, but of course there are almost no places that you can actually get that. Anyway, looking at this list here, you can see Gilbert, Arizona, number 1, and there are a few others in here, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arizona, and other places that are in this list, which you may recognize if you're in the US, but just wanted to show you the list right there for you to check out. Take a look at the table below to see a comparison between how many square feet you could afford with the 30% rent burden and the average size of apartments in the 100 most populous US cities. At the very top of the list, number 1, Los Angeles, square feet afforded 333, average rent $2,500 almost. So this just shows us the differences that we can see in other cities. Like, you may get a completely different amount of square footage, you may also get a completely different situation with the average rent. I mean, this is just telling when you see it as a city on its own, not necessarily comparing cities together. As I said, you need to always be comparing within that locality, because you're not going to work in LA and live in Chicago, for instance. It just doesn't make sense. So you have to compare it properly. And this right here, if you want to check it out, you can just go through the list and see those. I also wanted to make note of the fact that yes, you could move into the middle of nowhere, into the woods, where you pay $10,000 for a house and you're out on your own. I get that, but we have to sort of compare where people live. And oftentimes we look at the most populous cities to give ourselves a good indication of what most people are feeling. And that's just the way it is. I always see the comments saying, well, I live here and I don't have to deal with that, but that's fine for you. And we have to kind of generalize. I know there's shouldn't really generalize, but how can you have a possible conversation? How can you make a video? How can you write a book if there aren't some level of generalizations taking place while also making considerations for others? All right, anyway, moving on. This is the last thing I wanted to get onto, because you are seeing how much space $1,500 gets you in the 100 most populous US cities. So this is interesting. It tells you basically a very similar situation where San Francisco, you can get a whopping 342 square feet. Awesome. And in New York City, you're going to get 271 square feet. Boston, 399. New Jersey, 473. At the opposite end of the spectrum, you are seeing Memphis, Tennessee at 1948. Okay, so Wichita is getting 1948 as well. That just shows you a big difference in between these cities. There is no doubt about that. So you can move your mouse around on here if you want to check it out. Links will be in the description under the sources, and you can just see if it's at any interest to you, just comparing the size of these places and what you're really gonna get for your money. Remember that maybe you think that a certain city like Memphis, Tennessee is fantastic and you're gonna get a lot out of it simply by moving to that area as opposed to living in San Francisco, for instance. It all depends on what your needs are, what your desires are, you know, what kind of work you do. Maybe you work online, you can live in the middle of nowhere and it's totally fine. It's all dependent on the personal situation. But I think that looking at this, looking at people's finances, looking at the debt that people are in today, there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to take place. Apparently, what we have seen right now has been nothing because the debt continues to rise. But I do believe that that is going to be a major impact on so many people's lives in the near future. I'm going to end the video there. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a like on these videos, you are supporting me, you're supporting the channel, so I do appreciate that very much. If you want the financial education you weren't taught in school, well then these two books have everything you need from top to bottom, A to Z, the foundation history, the asset classes, and everything. This covers all of it. Check out the link in the description if you want the audiobook. That's available at themoneygps.com. The debt situation continues to get worse. If you want to know all about it, you got to watch this video, so click on it and I will see you there.